The Indianapolis Colts quarterback competition kicked off today, and each quarterback put up pretty typical stat lines for what we expected, but we have to go further than the numbers to see what really happened today. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you all for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd of horseshoehuddle.com. And my partner, of course, is Jake Arthur. Our credential boots on the ground. Those boots are going to be worn out the rest of summer here. I hope you're not wearing boots, actually, Jake, out there with that heat.
I don't know. It was the heat today was what we like to call dangerous. So no, I was not wearing boots.
Yeah, we're going to go back to the Crocs intro going forward because it's going to make more sense. But we have training camp to talk about, guys. Finally, the long wait is over. The Colts are back on the field. It's just training camp, but look, it's something. It's football, something to get excited about. And we have this quarterback competition front and center. So we're going to talk about the quarterback competition in just a second. But first, to rattle off just some injury updates, the shortest injury list of the offseason upcoming here, where just linebacker Zaire Franklin missed today. Everybody else was a participant. I'm assuming that will change every other day of the rest of training camp. But good news on the injury front, Jake, and some guys that we thought could miss some time, from Samson Ebukam, Daniel Scott, Jalen Jones, some guys who missed time in minicamp. All of them were back on the field. Jalen Carlisle was another big one too. So good to hear that they were all back on the field, right, Jake?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So nobody's on PUP, and Franklin was the only one who was out. Sorry, voice is being weird. There we go. But yeah, we already kind of expected that from him. Missed the first couple days at least while he recovers from that ankle. But yeah, all those guys who missed extended periods of time in the offseason program, all back. You love to see Jalen Carlisle back, especially if Franklin is going to still be out. There really weren't any new injuries. There was a period of time where Alec Pierce had to get kind of stretched out on the side, but he came back after. But as is normal, over these next couple days, there's probably going to be some guys popping up with soft tissue things. They're just throwing their bodies back into a position they haven't been in for several weeks. So far, so good. It's going to change, but I mean, at least they're going into camp healthy.
Yeah, I can't complain about that whatsoever when it comes to this Colts team. Now let's dive into this quarterback competition, though, because that's going to eat up all the headlines, and it's what you guys want to hear about. So for the first training camp practice of the offseason, it looked like Daniel Jones got the first run with the starters, but it was a fairly even split by everything I saw. But Jake, just dive into it. Give us all the info you can on Richardson versus Daniel Jones in day one of training camp.
Yep, they each got a few sessions with the first team offense during 11-on-11s and 7-on-7s. Obviously, it was Jones up first. Throughout the spring, it had been Anthony, but that's kind of to be expected. They're working Anthony back in. Now, Chris Ballard had mentioned yesterday that they're going to watch Anthony's volume as a passer, which just is a fancy term basically for pitch count. But what I like about what they're going to do, Shane Steichen kind of explained today, is you're probably going to notice Anthony throwing a little less, but that's mostly going to be during positional work where they're just throwing routes on air and stuff like that, which I think that's smart. That's inconsequential football, but they're still going to give him the live reps with the teamwork and stuff. So I think that's smart. That way he's not really missing out on anything that Daniel Jones gets to participate in. But yeah, and then each day they're just going to basically rotate. So what we saw today, everything that Daniel Jones got, Anthony's going to get that, and then vice versa. They did get even work, but Anthony's going to go out there first tomorrow, I would assume. So they're just going to keep rotating. I don't know that there's going to be much from us to take away from their split for probably the next week or so.
Yeah, and we'll really tell once the games get going. Yeah. And I think when the last time the Colts had a true quarterback competition was back with Minshew and Richardson, I think it was right after or right before the first preseason game is when we got the announcement. On
after, I
who?
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might have been right after. So maybe that timeline's a little bit later this offseason with it more of a high octane, I guess, quarterback competition. But we will see there. Now, when it comes to how these guys performed in 11 on 11s, you kept track of the numbers for that. To keep in mind, though, just before I throw it to you for the numbers, let's not overrate completion percentage in 11 on 11s, guys. This is not me trying to be a defender or pro anybody here. This is purely that these numbers get thrown around every offseason for every quarterback, and they do get, just completion percentage alone is not the biggest indicator. But Jake, what were the numbers that you put down for the guys, and what did your eyes tell you, I guess, aside from the numbers?
Yeah, so overall, I think these guys had a relatively even day. The numbers don't indicate it, but like watching it, I did not feel like one guy really separated themselves whatsoever. So now this is just during 11 on 11s. Anthony was 4 of 11. Now, there were at least 3 drops out of that group there. I've got here that, it was Pittman, Taylor, and Ashton Doolin each had drops. There were other instances where the pass defense just did a really good job. Like Charvarius Ward, dove and stretched in front of Michael Pittman Jr. to break one up. Tyler Warren, had Joe Bocci in between him and the ball, and Bocci made a good play. So, the defense made a good play. The route runners were out there not maybe getting the greatest separation in the world. But overall, I think like you see early in training camp pretty much every year, there's timing issues. These guys are not really on the same page yet. There was also an instance where it looked like Josh Downs cut outside and Anthony thought he was going to go inside, just little communication things like that really are not a big deal. They're not indicative of being inaccurate or anything. And then the same thing with Daniel Jones. He was 7 of 8 in 11 on 11, so nearly perfect. But his 7 on 7 sessions were a little rougher than that. Now they were leaning into runs and RPOs and first and second down stuff, which Daniel should eat that stuff alive. It's quick decisions, getting rid of the ball, short distances and things, stuff where he's going to really kind of accelerate there. So he looked efficient there in 11 on 11s. But he had a late throw in 7 on 7s to the sideline to Josh Downs, where it just took too long to get there, and Kenny Moore read it the entire way and just jumped in front of it at the sideline and picked it off. There was another one where I think it was Austin Ajake got a hand up, and Daniel had some heat on that one, but Ajake got his hand up and batted it down. So I almost want to throw the numbers out of this one, because when you take 7s and 11s into play here, both guys just had a day. It was the start of training camp, and it felt that way.
Yeah. And so you would say, just from your first day of watching, that both guys were kind of fine, I guess. Yeah. Is that kind of the way you put it?
Yeah, there was nothing spectacular. Jones did have a really good play where he threw a go ball up the left sideline to Anthony Gould for about 30 yards. That was probably the best offensive play of the day. But then he also was on the wrong end of the best defensive play of the day, where he threw that pick to Kenny, or you could even say Charvarius Ward's play was really good as well. So these guys are they're still developing that timing and rhythm with their pass catchers, because Tyler Warren's going to be a big part of this thing as well, and he hasn't really gotten involved yet. There was that target to him that got broken up with Bocci right in front of him. But things are going to develop, but this very much felt like the first day of camp, where not everyone's really clicking on all cylinders yet.
Yeah, and a relatively short practice as well, right? You said it was only an hour.
Just an hour, yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't really get a ton. It wasn't a very physical practice, I'm assuming. Did they even have full pads on today?
No, they can't go full pads for I think they have to have at least 3 practices there. So you might be looking at Saturday or Monday or something until they get the pads on.
Okay, cool. So obviously today's practice is certainly something that we put in the data banks, and it's something to evaluate throughout the off season, but it is day one of 3 or 4 weeks of these things that we're going to get here. This will become more identified as we go, but it seems from everything that you've said and everything I've seen from other people, it seems like both these quarterbacks were kind of exactly what we expected out of both of these quarterbacks in day one of training camp, especially considering that they were doing first and second down work today. Jones certainly has the advantage in first and second down work, where Richardson will probably do a little bit better in the third down work that you think is coming tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think so. They'll probably move into third down work and then red zone stuff the day after.
Yeah. Okay, so Jones might have the advantage in red zone. Jones might have advantage in a lot of training camp stuff because it's really set up for him.
He ate in the red zone during OTAs and minicamp. I will say that for sure.
Yeah. So we will keep an eye on this quarterback battle for you guys the rest of the offseason, give you that daily update that you are craving here when you come over to our channel. But coming up, we have to talk about the rest of the offense. There weren't many guys that stepped up, but there were a few players that made some notable plays on day one of training camp. But first, you ever wish that managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. The big thing for me when it comes to spending and taking care of money, guys, is just the accountability aspect of it. And Monarch Money holds me accountable better than I could. Just being able to see my purchases, seeing where my money is going, and seeing how I can do better at saving money has been so clutch for me. So Monarch Money has been fantastic. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNFL for half off of your first year.
All right, guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, then it is time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours to kick in, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and it kicks in fast. On average, just 15 minutes. Its effects can last up to 36 hours so that you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. And if traditional options haven't worked for you, then don't give up. Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. So head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. All right, so let's talk offense. Obviously, everything revolves around the quarterback position, Zach. So we've talked AR, we've talked Daniel Jones. There is a little other kind of under the radar battle going on, and I don't really know how much of a battle it is, but at center with Tanner Bortolini and Danny Pinter. So the Colts want to do right by Danny Pinter, a guy who has been with them for a long time. I think he came in 2020 as well. For the most part, has done a really good job when he's had to be called on. You know, he had that hiccup in 2022 as right guard, but other than that, when he's had to come in at center, he's been a very serviceable player. So I think they want to do right by him and let him compete for this spot. But, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I think it's Tanner Bortolini's job to lose. He was the first team center out there today, as you would expect. We'll see if they just alternate day after day. They kind of did that during the spring. The tough part is that the pads aren't on yet either, so it's hard for us to tell who's doing well offensively, like offensive line-wise or even defensive line-wise, until the pads are on, and then they need to do the one-on-ones as well. Because a big thing that Pinter has to answer is just the lack of anchor that he's kind of always shown. He's not the biggest guy, you know, he's not the thickest guy in the lower half of his body. So he does tend to get overpowered at times. So we'll see if that's changed at all. But yeah, I mean, I guess edge goes to Tanner Bortolini on day one.
Yeah, and I do think Tanner Bortolini is going to be the one who wins this battle, but I like the Colts calling it a competition just to keep the young guy hungry, keep the young guy fighting for it. You know, as long as that's what it is, it's like a competition, but like Bortolini's going to get every chance, then I'm perfectly fine with calling it what it is. Now, again, if Bortolini plays well and we still give it to Pinter, then I'm with you, Jake. What are we doing here? But I digress. I think that'll be Bortolini's job to lose. Chris Ballard, when he talked the other day, did mention another offensive position that he was intrigued by. And again, the pads weren't on today, but from what you noticed today, was there anything that stood out about Jalen Travis and Blake Freeland when it came to that swing tackle position, or were they both just running with the second team, one at left tackle, one at right tackle?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And that's kind of what I've been looking for them so far. Now, when you got like a week or so into it last year, you could see pretty early on it was going to be a rough time for Freeland. We haven't gotten that far yet. Freeland was, from every time I noticed, the second team left tackle with Travis over at right tackle. But you're right. I mean, how Chris Ballard pointed out, they think he's got a very bright future in the NFL. So that may make them a little more eager to give him more opportunities, obviously, since Freeland has had a couple years of that now. But I don't know if this is going to be a thing where we can tell how it's decided, because they're not really battling for one spot. I think they're going to be on opposite ends of the line all summer. And it's just going to be up to the coaches, what they've seen on film and like the practice film. And I think the preseason games are going to weigh pretty heavily this year as well, since there just seems to be more battles than in year past as to how that one's going to shake out. But it does seem like Jalen Travis is the guy they would probably want to win that one.
Yeah, I would at least say that when it comes to this battle, there can be a scenario where there's two winners of a battle, which is weird because one can be the backup left tackle, one can be the backup right tackle.
Yeah, they'll probably both make the team.
Right. But like there is a scenario where say Freeland's actually pretty good all of a sudden, Chris Ballard said he got bigger and stronger this offseason. So if that holds true and he has a good preseason, there could be a world where he's the backup left tackle and Jalen Travis the backup right tackle this year. But we will see. I know swing tackle is a big thing the Colts like to do. We'll certainly see throughout these training camp practices, though. All right, let's get to the fun stuff now, Jake, the pass catchers. We touted on this show the other day that the Colts wide receiver room was probably the second best roster position on the team. How did they fare against the number one position on the team, which is cornerback? And I heard the cornerbacks had a pretty good day. So how did the pass catchers do?
It was okay. So
all that hype for nothing. Hype for nothing. Throw them out.
The most productive receiver on the day was Anthony Gould, and that was primarily with the second unit. And, that's 2 summers in a row for Gould. And we're starting to see kind of a track record now of like the veteran backup quarterback. We're going to classify Daniel Jones that as right now for this argument, finding Anthony Gould, at all levels of the field, especially deep. So after the summer he had last year, if he capitalizes on that and does it again this summer, I don't know how you fit him into an offense with that many mouths to feed, but I would like to see more from Anthony Gould. I mean, he's going to be your return specialist, but like the guy's got juice and he's been proving it now we're one day into his second summer and he just keeps doing it.
Yeah, and speaking of Anthony Gould, and I know maybe he's a bad segue for this, but it kind of makes sense when I get to my ending here. Is there any guy on the bottom of the roster for offense at all, like backups, quarterbacks, like we had Bean Time all last offseason, which was fun? Were there any backup quarterbacks, backup like players who maybe won't make this team, but stood out to you in day one of practice or had like a good player too?
So Salvin Ahmed and Tyler Goodson both had their moments today. Watching this team, I do not know what the pecking order is at running back yet. They rotate it so much. Yeah. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is going to be in there. But mixing in with, I felt like the first and second unit, we saw like all the running backs except for Ulysses Bentley, basically. So we saw Ahmed go out there and catch a ball, Goodson catch a ball. So, those are 2 guys who it's like, they're probably not going to make the roster, but practice squad maybe. But they're being involved with the 2 most important players on offense. Yeah. And I think at a certain point, if Richardson or Jones shows like a very high level of comfort with one of those guys, especially Goodson, who does so much on special teams, is your backup kickoff returner right now. Like he may have a sneakier spot to the roster than we think. I feel like we kind of hinted at that when we did our running back show recently. But I don't think it's just like a foregone conclusion that he's going to be off the roster, because I do see a way for him to make it because of special teams mostly.
I was literally about to jump in here and say I wouldn't call Tyler Goodson a for sure guy off the team because there's a world where he makes it over Khalil Herbert, in my opinion. So we will see how that transpires here the rest of the offseason. I know they like Goodson quite a bit.
Yeah. Another one, Laquan Treadwell is maybe like the best third-team wide receiver in the NFL. Like,
yep.
He was a former first rounder, but he really only looks it when he's going up against like backup defenses, but he does exactly what you would hope to see him do against backup defenses. So he is always going to give us some entertainment in the summers because he is just so much better than his opponents, like at the second and third units. But yeah, probably not going to make the team because they're just so deep at receiver already.
Well, he's the perfect practice squad wide receiver. He knows what he's doing. He's been around the league, and he's better than most guys that you would have on a practice squad, even if he's not really like a rosterable type guy in a typical sense. So Laquan Treadwell, I think he's a great offseason receiver to have, especially for the confidence of your young of your young quarterbacks throwing the ball. Like you can see the ball being completed to a player like Treadwell quite a bit. So some good things there. We talked a lot about the offense already, guys, but switching over to defense here for our final segment. We have a new development that happened today that is making us here on the show feel pretty excited about something we've been talking about all offseason.
This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back, baby. Fire up the group chat, get your draft boards ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions that we all live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, Zach and I are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. Even if you're someone who's in 10-plus leagues every year, you're in a Yahoo league, let's face it. Most of us have at least one fantasy league that we've been in for years. I mean, personally, I've got, I think, 3 Yahoo leagues that I've been in for at least a decade, and I really like their interface. Like, whenever someone around me suggests starting a new league or something, I really suggest Yahoo just because they're scoring. I think it's super user-friendly, and there are other platforms I don't care too much for, but we're not talking about that today. For Yahoo to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins August 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. That's yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. What do you think, Zach? Should we maybe start up a Yahoo Fantasy League for Locked On Colts? I don't know.
Maybe if we do like a dynasty one, that way I can argue my way, like why I finished last place because I was building for the future. Maybe that would be the good way to go about it. But we'll see. We'll see what the interest level is there.
Perfect.
But transitioning back to this Colts training camp day, one of the biggest developments, honestly, in my opinion, the biggest development of the day was rookie cornerback Justin Walley getting starter snaps from day one and from you and I talking right before we jumped on for pretty much the entirety of the day. Now, I'm not calling this a win for us because it's still early and I still think Jalen Jones is going to win the job like I've been saying all offseason, but we have been saying on this show for months now that this coaching staff just needs an excuse for Justin Walley to get out there, put him out there with the starters, or at least find some excuse to get him involved with this defense. And I guess they found their excuse because he was getting that first team rep today. Chris Ballard talked yesterday and called him like a pit bull, and he's ready to ready to compete out there. This coaching staff, this front office, they love Justin Walley, and it was shown today when they got him out there for starter reps in his first training camp practice with the Colts.
Yeah, and I can't really take that as a win because I admittedly was very skeptical when they drafted him. You liked it after you watched him, you liked it right away. But I have reported all off season that any opportunity this team has taken to talk about him, even unprovoked, they have taken it. Like scouts, coaches, front office people, I have heard each level of the organization kind of rave about the guy. And it kind of came to fruition today. Now, again, this is just the first day, but Jalen Jones is a guy who has been a starter for 2 years. And I felt pretty comfortable that, yeah, he was going to be the starter, but at some point they may try and find a way to get Justin Walley in there. But to see him out there with the ones right away on the first day, they could wind up alternating this like quarterback is, because Chris Ballard mentioned Juju in there as well. But I think it's significant. Because I mean, if you think about it, how often do we see guys early in camp out there with the first unit, not only with the first unit, but being like the first guys out there each new session of 11 on 11s and seeing the vast majority of reps, and they don't wind up being the starter by the end. I mean, they drafted this guy. They've raved about this guy. He is handpicked by this new defensive coaching staff. I mean, I think there's a pretty good chance he winds up being your week one starter out there against the Dolphins. Again, that's not to say Jalen Jones couldn't, because this could be kind of a moot point if he comes out there tomorrow and gets most of the snaps, and then it just keeps going back and forth. But my experience watching how NFL practices work, I think that is significant.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. If you guys want to see just more of an in-depth breakdown on why Walley might be getting this opportunity early, I did write an article for horseshoehuddle.com. Definitely go check that out. I laid it out there, kind of my argument for Walley getting that starting role to start the season and why the Colts might view it that way. But transitioning away from our boy Justin Walley for just a second, talking about other guys who made an impact today. I saw a lot of Charvarius Ward love across the Colts beat writers. What was your take on Ward today?
Yeah, it's good to see the guy is like he's like full go now, because during the spring they kind of ramped him up a little bit, but he was out there doing team drills and everything, and I love him going up against Michael Pittman Jr. Like that is sandpaper against sandpaper. You know what I mean? Like those are two of your toughest players on either side of the ball, and they get to go head to head every day. There's going to be times where either guy kind of gets the edge, but today it was Charvarius Ward. Something I love, he has a trait that I really love in certain corners, and it's something the Colts don't usually get a lot of. He plays the ball, not the receiver. That is why he gets so many pass breakups. He's had picks. He is why he was once an All-Pro. And after practice, he was like, I'm going to prove this year that All-Pro season wasn't a fluke. So this guy is juiced and ready to go. But no, the Colts have had a lot of passive corners that they're going to give up the completion. They may get the tackle right away, but they're giving up that completion. He doesn't want to give up a yard, and I love that. That's something we've seen from guys like Xavier Rhodes, Stephon Gilmore. The Colts kind of have that gritty, hopefully dominant veteran corner back in the fold. Like, I've got to imagine he's going to fall in line with Gilmore, Rhodes, Vontae Davis. He's going to be in that line of like really, really good Pro Bowl level Colts cornerbacks. And God, is that something they've really needed?
I think he's going to be a step above those guys. Maybe not Gilmore, because if he can just match what Gilmore gave the Colts that year, maybe Gilmore a little bit more juice. Yeah, it could be pretty great there. What about other guys on defense that stood out today? You said a lot of pass breakups, a lot of hands-on balls. What were some other guys that really stepped up today?
Yeah, so Big Grove had to bat a pass at the line of scrimmage, of course. Now, Daniel Jones ruined it by catching it. So he ruined Grover's pass.
Man, one of Daniel Jones' completions that you led off the show was to himself. Like, come on, we don't need that. Get that out of here.
Sometimes in a group project, you got to get the job done yourself. Like that's how
true.
It feels. No, so there was that one. Ward had the pass breakup. Kenny had the really heady play where he got the interception off Jones in front of Josh Downs on the sideline. Bocce had a pass breakup. There were several guys who were just harassing the ball, which I like to see. Comments from some of the players after practice was just that what Lou Anarumo's defense throws at you, like having the same personnel and pre-snap looks out there, and then the coverages transforming after that, basically.
Yep.
You think it's one thing because you just saw it, but then after the ball snapped, it's something completely different. They're already noticing all the tweaks that he's making to the defense. I mean, it's working so far through one day, because I would say the pass defense won the day.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's great to hear. Any other news and notes with the defense in general? Like, do you have anything else that stood out, like rotation-wise? I know we're also looking at that D-line rotation. I know it's tough today because they weren't in full pads, but anything kind of significant or changed across there?
Well, defenses notoriously rotate just so much early in camp, but one thing that I'm pretty eager to see continue is Latu. So all throughout the spring and today, he has gotten a lion's share of reps with that first team. Like, I think we could probably declare Latu officially a starter opposite of Kwity Paye. Again, behind those guys, there was a lot of rotating. It was, I believe it was Eric Johnson and Tommy were the next up, or Neville Gallimore were the next up on the interior with Tommy and Tim Smith after that. So Tyquan Lewis was next up with Samson Ebukam on the second group. It was good to see Ebukam back out there. So that means like Isaiah Land and JT Tuamaloau are going to have to kind of work their way up a little bit. I don't know how well Land can kind of crack that, just because of the guys they have above them. But Tuamaloau obviously is going to be given opportunities to grow since he was an early draft pick for them. But no, it was a good day. Special teams wise, what everyone wants to hear. They didn't do a whole lot of special teams. They just kind of worked on kickoff returns. It was an enormous line of guys returning kicks. It was Anthony Gould, Tyler Goodson, DJ Giddens, Ashton Doolin, DJ Montgomery, Coleman Owen, A.D. Mitchell, and Khalil Herbert. So if you're an offensive skill position player, you probably got to return a kickoff today.
One day, Laquan Treadwell will get his chance back there. One day he will.
Side note, though, with DJ Giddens, so considering you have Khalil Herbert as well, like, this is not going to be a high volume year for DJ Giddens, but considering he has that phone booth agility to be able to make guys miss in the box, I'm kind of intrigued by him as a kickoff returner because, like, yes, there's guys out there returning kicks who have like speed out in space, but you have to be able to make guys miss in tight quarters as well. Yeah. So while Gould is still going to be the kickoff returner, if we see Giddens return the ball at all this year, that could be interesting.
Yeah. And then one more quick question. Just we're almost out of time here, so just real quick. Cam McGrone getting the start today in place of Zaire Franklin. Any standout from McGrone? We thought Bocci would be the backup Mike, but it looked like McGrone might just be the third overall linebacker on this team right now.
Could be, yeah. So McGrone was the first guy in there in place of Zaire Franklin. We did also see Bocci and Ajake out there. Alubi was pretty firmly with the second unit. That's just surprising. Just from this previous regime, and we saw, they trusted him more and more, and he got more responsibility and more playing time as the last couple years went on. But no, it seems like McGrone might be your next linebacker so far, which they've developed him in-house. They seem to like him a bit, but I still feel like McGrone and Bocci are probably the next guys up.
Awesome. Well, that's all we have for today, guys. Make sure you're coming back to practice tomorrow, right, Jake? Practice tomorrow?
Yeah, they got a lot going on. So they're going 4 straight days. I think Sunday is their next day off.
Okay. Awesome. So we will have you guys covered here on Locked On Colts after every one of those practices there. So you guys get the lowdown on this quarterback competition, this center competition, which you guys are all chomping out the bit for, and obviously this outside corner competition and much more. I do want to remind you guys, though, before we get out of here, the Locked On NFL Top 100 is here. Voted on by the NFL hosts of Locked On Podcast Network. Our top 100 was formed by the experts that cover these teams and players every single day. Find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. If you guys want to become a Locked On Colts insider and chat with us directly and get that insider scoop, follow the link in our show notes. And if you don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2, all on socials. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. We'd love your guys' ratings, reviews, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow afternoon.